a special one this time. Not only because of the person, but because of the conversation that we're going to have. I was at an awards dinner one night. Can't even remember what award it was. I do remember what I was wearing, which is kind of weird. And I was sitting at a table, bunch of people. As you know, I've said this a gazillion times, I have a bit of an anxiety problem when it comes to social situations. And I was just sitting there, not doing much. And I didn't think it was visible that I was feeling trapped inside of a room full of people. And I looked around the table, and one person looked at me and goes, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit iffy." And she goes, "Do you want to walk outside? Maybe we just, walk outside, take a deep breath, and then we come back. Things will be here after that." And I remember thinking, it's just so cool when someone sees you at that level. People see you all the time. Maybe some people see you at different levels, but she was able to see me at a level that only one or two other people have seen me before. I will never forget that, and I will never thank her enough. Today with us, Sita Proud. I'll let her do the introduction. She has an amazing story to tell us. And I am so happy and so proud, pun not intended, to have you here. Hi, Sita. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And thank you for having me, Diego.
Oh.
That was a wonderful introduction.
Oh, my pleasure. All true. All true. I don't know if you remember that night, but I remember putting it in my head as in the list of cool people.
Well, I do remember us having a connection straight away.
Yeah.
From the moment I met you, so.
Yeah. So thank you again.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you. Dive into it directly.
Yes.
Tell me about your human doing.
My human doing.
What do you do that people know you for, or our industry and sector would know you for?
I think I'm known as a leader in sales and technology. I think people just see me as that. And I guess I don't show the other side of me as the human, right? And so I do have a lot of stories, but I guess my sort of purpose, or my human doing, as you call it, is to pay forward the belief that was given to me. And that's really, really important to me. And I guess if I go more into the detail around that, my mum raised my sister and I as a single mum, and we went through quite a lot of adversity as an Indian family without a father in our household. So there's a lot of negativity and cultural issues that come with that. However, with me, when I was 19 years old, instead of getting married off and whatever I was supposed to do, I fell into a role in technology and sales in London. So I left where I lived in Bristol and moved to London. And I met I had this incredible boss. And he really, really believed in me. And for that reason, that's who I am today. Because he put me in situations where it really pushed myself, and I didn't really understand why. But actually, he is the reason. He has given me the opportunity to understand that I can actually do more than what I ever thought I could do. And so with that in mind, and then him changing the whole trajectory of my whole life, I have grown and had experiences since then. So I guess I've had a lot of curveballs, right? So things like from being homeless as a teenager, from surviving a brain aneurysm and a craniotomy, that whole experience there. I've had quite a few major surgeries, and I've had several moments where I personally didn't think I'm going to make it. And guess what? I'm still here. I'm still here. They haven't got rid of me yet. So what does that mean, right? And so for me, it's really, really important that I can share my story, also be strong enough to share my stories, and ensure that every person out there, I know they've got the potential, but they may not see the opportunity in front of them. So my doing is around making sure that I give everyone the sort of perspective or understand their own potential and then I can help them with those opportunities. But it does come down to the individual too. You can't do it all for them, you know?
There's so much to unpack in what you just said. And thank you. Thank you for just sort of going straight into vulnerability and going, this is who I am. Not only my human doing. I want to go back a little bit of something you said. You said, this is what I do and this is my human doing, but I guess I don't show my human being. I suppose, did you create this identity around that human doing, and then at some point you realized that there was a mismatch? Was there ever a mismatch? How do you feel about how you build your identity around that with that person that gave you the first opportunity?
I think I've gone through a massive journey to figure out myself anyway, right? And actually, if I step back even further, who I am every 10 years when I review myself, because I do, I've always changed and grown, but I don't think I've really understood myself until the last 5 years.
Okay.
Right? And so I guess when I was younger, I always had to pretend to be someone else because I was always this skinny little Indian girl in business and no one really listened. And I think I've always had that with definitely being in technology in a male-dominated environment. I've always been that person that had to really sort of raise my voice. But what I have learned is that as things have happened, and maybe the darker times, I've learned to protect myself. So when I say protect myself, I can't be vulnerable because by being naive and young and going through certain things, I've let people walk over me or not. Positive things haven't happened.
Okay.
So for me, it's really protecting myself. But I've also then learned later on that actually I can be who I am. I'm actually much happier being who I am. And I find strength in that. So I can be vulnerable today, but I can still be a strong, assertive woman. I can cry and I can share my stories where I need to, but I can still remain somebody who can influence other people in their lives, in business, wherever, and help them without having to tell them everything, right?
Yeah.
And I don't need to be anyone else. I can just be me. And that's a massive, massive thing. And like I said, that's taken me 5 years to actually figure that out. And the trigger for me was my brain surgery, because I'll never be the Sita I used to be, but I am a new version of me. And it's taken me 5 years to find me again. So, yeah.
Are there any things or signals that you were not able to pick up before, knowing yourself, that you pick up now? And we'll go into stress and burnout and the things that we usually talk about in these interviews. But I just want to explore a little bit more of that, because a life-changing episode like that, as you said yourself, you're not the same one, must make you see the world and other people in a different way. So I wonder about that.
Yeah, I think if I be really honest, the brain aneurysm experience 5 years ago isn't the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Okay. So for me, that was the last straw. I feel like I've taken one for all the teams. So I'm done now, right? I kind of need, like, I'm done, please, right? So I think prior to that, I didn't know how to figure myself out. But physically, as in like mentally and physically, a change has happened to me because someone's been in my brain. So what I mean by that is that there's the emotional stuff that you, through experience and trauma, but then or learning, right? All that resiliency and so on. That's one journey. But when you've had someone go into your brain and then you wake up and you're not the same person, because whenever someone goes into your brain, you don't know what the outcome of that is, because the brain is a real complex thing. So it's not going to be the same for every single human being. And I lost the ability to love, right? So for me, it changed me in so many ways that when I say I'm not the same person and I know who I am today, I've actually had to figure out who I am. And luckily, there's this thing called neuroplasticity, which is where the brain rewires. And so over the last 3.5 years, I've been going through a journey with counselling, with lots of different things and medication, right? And I didn't want to take medication. I really was against it because I thought I've been through so much in my life. Why am I suffering now, right? But actually, it's the best thing I've ever done because I've been able to then just find myself properly. And so, again, I think it's only been 12 months since I can actually talk about me and my journey and be okay with it. And yeah, it's been interesting. And like I said, I'll never find me again, not the old Sita, but do I still want her? It's okay. It's of her. It's fine.
Yeah. Did you say I lost the ability to love?
Yes,
Did I get that right?
You did. I lost the ability to love my kids. I used to look through my children. I've got 3 kids. Beautiful. I love them now, by the way. Absolutely love them.
Yeah, of course.
No, that's what you say, of course. But you know what? As a human, can you imagine looking at your child, these 3 beautiful boys that I've created, these 3 strong men that are going to be in this world later on, right? Looking at them and knowing that they're my boys. And of course, probably somewhere I love them, but I just saw through them. And that was about a good year of me doing that. And that's horrible. But that is because of my brain. So at the time...
How did that happen? Can you explain it? Or it's just, do we need a doctor?
No, I think...
it?
Well, no, because the doctor said to me that doesn't happen. And then I was on my own. So there we go.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So figuring that out myself.
Yeah.
I think when I started getting physically better post-surgery, I realised actually something's not quite right, but I didn't know what. And so I do remember ringing my hospital, my surgeon, and saying, is there such thing as depression post-surgery? And I was told no. And I thought, oh, okay. So then what's wrong with me? So I've gone through this whole next 6 months, I reckon, of not really understanding what was happening and why I was feeling this way, but I knew it was there. And so I think it wasn't until like about 12 months later, I sat down before Christmas and I started reading this book. And as I was reading this book, I realized that's me. So I've got trauma. But I didn't understand. I didn't know. And honestly, counselling really didn't help me with other counsellors. But I finally found one. And she's still here with me right now, right? And yeah, she's just amazing. And she got me, she understood me, and she actually helped me. And that's probably how I've retrained my brain, by understanding my past and why I act and behave this way, and then adding it with a change or someone physically going in there. And ultimately, how do I share that story and say it's going to be okay for someone else? I can't.
Of course.
Because
of course.
I don't know. I don't even know really how I got to where I am right now to a certain degree.
Yeah.
You know, but I think time does heal, and time and being aware of the fact that if there's something not quite right, then be vocal about it to the best of your ability and seek that help.
Talk about it. Talk about it all the time. This is the whole mission of what we're doing here, is so we can talk more about this and seeing all of these things less as a weakness and more as a show of strength, and just to be able to say, hey, I'm not well, or I need help, or whatever that might be. Yeah.
I think going back to when you asked me the question originally, like, this really is our one life, whether we want to be here or not. This is it, right? So in that time, you've got to try your best to make the most of it. And like I said, I'm still here. So if I'm still here, then why? And what is my purpose? And that's why I want to give back. And that's why I want to share my story, because if I keep it to myself, then I've learned a wonderful lesson maybe, but there are other people just like me who you can't necessarily look at them and go, oh, you know, they've had a traumatic life, or they've had all these experiences, or they're not having a good day today. You know, you just got to find that strength and share. So I agree with you, Diego, on that. Yeah.
Thank you. With all of those changes, and there's a question that I always ask, with all of those things that happen to you, or without, however you want to frame it. I always ask if you had to, or if you could define your relationship with work or what with your human doing with a metaphor, what would that metaphor be?
Yeah, I think my metaphor would be a torch. And the reason why is because in my darkest times, somehow, whether it's the first boss that invested in me, shone a light on me to show me the pathway. And I think if I can be a torch to others, whether it's in work, in just general life, anywhere, I want to be able to show people not that, oh, my story is so sad and traumatic and I've got resilience. It's not about that, actually. It's actually about hope, right? Because if I can show someone that when I was there and it was horrible and I've managed to become here and who I am today, there are some learnings, and let me shine that light, or someone else might shine that light by luck or by chance. You never know. But that's what I want to be able to show the individuals, that they should have hope, because things can change. You're not always going to be in that situation, and you can reflect and look back and you go, remember that time when I felt like this, or remember that time when I worked for this organization and I really didn't like blah, blah, blah. And you just go, how did they make me feel then? But is it relevant today? No. But what do I take from that journey and that experience to my next role? What will I tolerate? What are my non-negotiables? And I think being a torch can shine a light on many different ways for individuals.
Thank you. And that it's a great analogy, by the way, and it opens the door to a couple of questions that are more related to what we usually talk about here. Let's delve into a couple of the things that you just said. You mentioned working for certain organizations and what am I going to tolerate? What are the things that I will or will not do on my next role? How do you pick up those signs? How did you recognize, these are the things that I just don't want for myself that are hurting me? Were there signals within you, this behavior? How did you pick that up?
I guess my first 2 major roles in the UK, in London, taught me a lot. So one was the fact that I became a manager for my friends. So that was an experience in itself.
Tough.
Very tough.
Yeah.
I picked up lessons from that, right? And then I moved on to another role so I could take everything I'd learnt to an environment where they didn't know me, so I could really just excel and grow. And that role I explain it as it made me, but it also broke me. So that's the role where majority of men in tech, where I still reported to the MD and had to go to that board meeting every Monday at 4:00 and still deliver the results of this new business I was creating. And it took me a good 2 years before the results came. And that's because we were building, so we're forming. But again, I'm just the little Indian girl in the background. And, when I wanted to ask a question...
Is that how you saw yourself? Or
Probably a little bit.
Was that imposter syndrome? Or did you get any actual situations where someone actually did tell you? Because we had another person in the show that said to me, I was in a situation sitting with somebody else and the male counterpart said the exact same thing. And they were like, yes, I understand that.
Yeah.
How did that happen for you?
I think you are right. I think it's probably how I felt, right? Because no one actually said that to me. To be fair, it was the dismissive tone.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they didn't say it, just for the record.
Yeah. They didn't say it to me, but I felt that way, right? And I think I was still young and not as experienced as I am today, right? That learning probably didn't come until later for me. So I guess in that story, the trigger for me is when I moved to New Zealand and I thought, I don't want, I'm going to a country where I don't know anyone, I have no network here, I have no friends, right? So first of all, I don't want to take on a role where I'm a leader. I just don't want anyone's responsibility. I just want to know, what does New Zealand mean? What's the dollar? And I want to drink wine with my friends. I want to make friends, right? Because I'm a social person, I need people. So for me, that was my first priority. But then I guess this thing called children happened, and then you have to navigate your relationship with work and being a parent, being a mother, and that was quite difficult. And so for me, the first child, I thought, oh my goodness, what is this? You know, it was like a massive shock. But and where I'm going with this is the fact that I went back to work after my first son, after 12 months, and I had a very good working environment, very supportive. So I really am very grateful for that. But then when I had my second one, I thought, I better have another one anyway, because I didn't want to leave one on his own. I learned from that whole experience that I can talk in front of 250 men in technology. I could, create revenue streams. I can do so much, but I can't put a baby to bed. That's what I learned from that. But also, yeah, I know. So that was like a horrific thing. I thought, am I a failure? Because I can't even put a baby to bed, but I can do all these amazing things. Right? That kind of made me write a letter to myself. And I always remember this because before I had my second son, I wrote this letter and I reminded myself what I'm good at and why. And then what I should never forget about myself for my next role. Because every time I had a child, and I'm strong and I'm confident, I still lost my confidence. And so, but I'm still able to go reflect on my journey and go, I've actually still had 3 children and I've still kept my career. And it hasn't been easy, but it is doable. Again, that pathway, shining the light on how I can help others do that. And so that whole little girl thing, I think it's evolved since then. I remember a time we were in a meeting, it was to the senior leaders and myself, and this marketing agency had come and talked to us about, obviously, rebranding, relaunching, whatever we were doing at the time. And the lady and the guy were there, and the lady was quite nice, and they all, she was talking to all of us, and I asked a question to the guy, and the guy acknowledged my question and answered to the men in the room. And I remember sitting there thinking, what do I do here? Because the old Sita would probably just be quiet. And I was like, no. And so I said, excuse me. I said, would you mind addressing me with the question that I asked you rather than addressing these two here? And again, that's another example of still having to be putting my foot down or being a bit more assertive. But also I've got this power in me now that with age, it comes with age and experience, to make sure that, I can do that now. But when I was younger, I couldn't do that. And I don't know why. And then another time more recently, I've had people say to me, I'm too loud. I was like, bloody hell, seriously? I'm too loud. Okay. Well, actually, I'm just me and you're too quiet.
Yeah, it's not my problem.
Yeah, it's not my problem. But, you get these things. And so can you imagine the younger generation coming through into environments like this in technology, especially being female? How's that going to inspire them? How's that going to make them feel? They can't wait till they're nearly my age to, well, they can. They could wait till then.
They do.
Or I can shine that light on that and I can help them through that.
Yeah. So while you were going through all of these things that you are describing, because all of this is pre-brain surgery.
Yes.
Then, maybe not the mother of all curveballs, because you said that that's not the worst thing, but one of them was that.
Yes.
And without, I don't want you to tell me about the whole experience if you don't want to, but how did that affect you in terms of, now I was this, and now I'm this? Can I still do my job, or am I going to show up in the same way? Do you know what I mean? So it's like, you said it yourself, it changed your identity. And within that change, going from, I used to do my job this way, and now I have to do it this way.
Yes.
Take me there.
Okay, so that's a very good question, actually, because prior to brain surgery, I was still a strong human being. And I think post, I'm even stronger, but in quite a few different ways. And I've had to accept the things that I'm not so good at anymore. Yeah, so that's been a bit of a learning curve for me. But I think after recovering from the surgery, and I took a year out. I took some time out just to try and get better and just to stop. And in that time, when I decided I was ready to go back to work, what I did is I took a role where I was really honest and open with them. I said, look, this is my first role going back into a working environment. I don't know what I need, but all I know is I sleep a lot. I need to sleep in the afternoons. And I think I've got myself to a stage where I think I'm ready to go back to work. But I want you to know this, so when you hire me, I'm really figuring out if I can do this as well. And by having that open conversation, they were fantastic. So I had like a 12-month gig, and I was able to do what I needed to do. And I learned in that year, I can still do what I need to do. I'm still okay. But yes, I do need to have a nap now and again. And I do. I did that yesterday. I've had 3 full-on days. I got home yesterday and I said, right, everyone, I need half an hour before I deal with life again, right? And so I just have recognized there's those things. And then I'm quite forgetful on certain things, which really does irritate me. It really upsets me because I don't like coming across like I don't know what I'm talking about. But that's actually not what's happening. You know, I just can't recall information as fast as I used to do. And so I do have to write things down. And I guess I'm going through a bit of a journey right now of being okay with that, you know, because, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I did my first keynote talk in front of 450 people.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was so scary. It's like, that's imposter syndrome. I thought I was about to vomit. But I did it, right? And I did it, but I was really open. And I said, look, I have to write a few things down. So I'm just going to do it. And I'm going to own that because what else can I do? And even if I feel a bit silly, I feel like I have to show them my photograph of my brain surgery to go, do you understand why I'm like this now? You know? And then they all just go, oh my God, okay, yes, no, you can do whatever you want. But ultimately, if you don't know me or if you don't know my journey or my story, employers forget, you know? There have been a few times in the last few years where people forget. Even my own family members, they forget. They forget I'm not normal because I act normal. I act strong. I act like I'm doing all these things because I am. But inside there's a slice of me that is in pain.
What is normal though?
Normal for me, I guess. And when I say normal, maybe doing the things that I used to be able to do without having to feel
your
like
normality.
My normality.
Yeah,
That's what I mean.
Right.
Yeah. And I guess for me, like I said, I'm not that Sita anymore. Maybe I have to come to terms with that a bit more. Maybe.
And it's a compounding thing, right? Because you mentioned a few times a woman of color, and now with these things that, to be completely honest, and I'll say this to the camera, I've seen you performing. I've seen you doing things. We worked together for a while. It was unnoticeable to me. All of these things that you're mentioning, they were completely unnoticeable. So I can imagine there's a lot of that you notice that we don't. However, it doesn't detract from the pain that causes you, I would assume.
It's an invisible disability, right? That's how I kind of come to terms with it. It's if I lost a leg, you can see. You can assume trauma. You can see I might need help. It's a bit like going to the airport, you know. A few of the things that I've had happen to me, I need help sometimes. I know that I like carrying my big suitcases and having all the stuff I need, right? But I kind of like, I do need help. But I feel sometimes like a real silly person by saying, excuse me, I'm not being a princess, but please, could you just help me with this?
Right.
You know?
Right.
And that's just something I'm going to have to probably get over and ask for help, you
It's
know?
funny. I talk with my daughter. She's a type 1 diabetic. I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
And it is recognized as an invisible disability as well because of many reasons. And she brings it up sometimes. And my immediate reaction, I am so sorry. I love you. And I'm sorry for this. My immediate reaction usually is, yeah, but look at these other people who have all of these other things. And you automatically, when it is invisible or when it is not as visible, we tend to sort of not minimize it, but you go, yeah, but look at these other people. And I think as everything we say in this podcast, talking about these things and showing that there are things that people go through that are not necessarily visible, but they affect them like quite a lot. It's important, and we should be talking a lot more about these things, not just mental health, for the record.
Absolutely, but also everyone's pain is their own pain.
Absolutely.
Right? So I often sort of sit there and go, like, I run a brain injury group every month now because I was on my own.
Okay.
So this brain injury group is a group of people that have survived TBIs, like traumatic brain injuries, like just concussions, all of that kind of stuff. And they're in a position that, like, we're all the same, and I lead it. It's good that I lead it through another organization, and I'm a lived, experienced individual, so I can really empathize, but also I know how to get help because I had to do it by myself, right? So I can advocate for this group. Now, with that in mind, their pain is so different from my pain, and it's okay, right? I still can go back to work. None of them can, right? Everyone's journey is different. And this is where we come back to, you know, if you look at what's happening in the world today with the wars, and we can compare our lives to so many things, but ultimately, as a human being, it's our pain, and we have a right to feel that, acknowledge it, and share it to help everyone else.
100%. Something you said before made me think that there's or maybe we talked about it before. Because of this invisibility, there's also an invisible healing that you must have gone through all these years, or since the brain injury happened until now. How was it for you to be able to heal and to go through that process, knowing that people couldn't see it? Because I would imagine that this "my family forget" also happens in many other situations where you go, I'm healing inside. I can see the progress, but either maybe people don't see it, or they forget, or they see the old Sita. How was that for you?
I'm still healing.
Of course.
Yeah, it's still happening. My 5-year mark is next week, and I'm going to open a bottle of champagne and celebrate that. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I didn't really understand that I was suffering until I met my counselor. Okay? So I knew with everything in my life, the trauma, etc., I always thought I was a bit broken, right? That's how I used to describe myself. I'm a bit broken, but that's it. I just get on with things.
We all are.
Yeah. So that is as far as I got in terms of understanding me. But when I started having counselling in 2023, I've learned so much about myself. And that healing started really then, because I think I've learned sometimes how I behave and how I react to things and how I feel certain things is because, or don't feel certain things, is because of my past and the trauma. And so you talk about the brain surgery and you talk about that time. I didn't realize certain things had happened to me over my past until I had that counseling to figure out where I was today. And then I go, oh, is that what happened to me? Like, you know, it's kind of thing like in psychology, you think, you know, you put repressed memories and you hide them. And then you go and you open those doors and you go, oh my God, no, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Because actually for me, it was just, oh, okay, that's happened. It's my fault. Move on, you know? And you kind of compartmentalize these learnings or these experiences. And so I think for me, 2023 was a pivotal moment in my life. It taught me actually what really happened in my past, why I behave like that, and how I want to be going forward. And actually that's what's given me the strength. And I have my tattoo here, which is my strength tattoo, because I need something sometimes to remind me that I'm going to be okay. I'm strong. And that, still learning, still going through things, but yeah. the journey's still going on.
And I reckon it never ends. Well, it does end at some point, but that learning curve, it never stops. You're always learning how to be here. And it's not easy. Life is not easy. Being here is not easy, particularly now. We're living in a world where there's isolation and we were talking with Guy before, there's this, we have created this society where it's easier to create intimacy with technology than it is with other people. It's easier to Sita Proud, who I love to pieces, a very well-known psychotherapist, talks about how we live in a moment where people just you go on a plane, sit with someone for 12 hours and you don't even say hello. And I reckon that would have happened before with people who are very introverted or whatever. But even people who are not that introverted, they just prefer not to.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's something that we are creating, that we have created, that what the consequences of that's going to be. And I think it's going to be quite interesting to see how that develops.
Oh, 100%. We're in a real incredible time of technology at the moment. And if you look at, I remember coming to this country and started to sell the smartphone, oh my goodness. And I also...
What year was this?
I think it was about 2009 maybe.
Right, I got here 2012, that's why I asked you.
Right, because actually when I first came to this country, we just started selling that Telecom XT network. So I think we were on the old CDMA network. And I remember coming from London and thinking, what is going on? What do you mean? XT? A SIM card? Wow. So that was hilarious. But actually, you know what? The naivety of this country and the fact that we're so far away and the way it is an absolute delight to be in this country.
100%.
Right? People don't realize how lucky they are. And the gift I give my boys is the life I can give them here. Because the opportunity, maybe it's outside of New Zealand sometimes. Like, go out there and explore. It's a beautiful world in so many ways. But actually coming back and bringing that into this beautiful Aotearoa and actually being able to celebrate the beaches, the life. Every country has their issues, right?
The slowness.
Yeah, but it's just, it's something that we should absolutely embrace, and I think we forget that. And technology absolutely support. And like my mum's on Facebook, seriously. My mum, when I left the UK 18 years ago, pretends that she couldn't read or write English or speak, but she can. She's been in the UK for like 50 years now. However, she, suddenly she's on Facebook liking my photographs. And I'm like, what? Oh, God, my mother's on Facebook. And then I got told off for drinking too much.
Right.
Because all my pictures.
Still as if you were 15.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, not
but
15.
anyway, so technology is good. Technology is there. And I really believe from an AI perspective, we should embrace it. It's going to assist us. But as a human being, we're always going to be relevant. And if you think your job's going to not quite be there in the future, then learn, figure something out. Figure out how to make yourself indisposable, right? Figure out whether now I need to learn something extra here to keep my brain and my life alive in this role, or have those open conversations with your leaders, If this is a situation and this work is going to be taken away from me, how else do you see me being in this organization? And how can you support me to better myself? And learning, good. Curiosity, learning is a huge power. Very passionate about that.
100%. And you're touching on AI, which I usually don't talk about in these interviews, not because I have anything against AI, but it's more trying to reel it back to the human thing. However, what I'm seeing more and more is the anxiety and the burnout that it creates just because of its existence. Like I have a friend back in Argentina who was telling me, remain nameless, and the company as well, who's telling me that they are starting to make lists of people who will go into redundancy first, really, if they don't have a threshold of tokens being used per month. As in, you're supposed to be using 25 million tokens of this particular AI tool per month. If you're not, if we have to start cutting cost with redundancies, you'll be top of the list.
Right.
And so on. And he saw the behavior of a couple of those people already being made redundant because they're not using AI enough.
Yeah.
And from a business perspective, I can see, I absolutely disagree, but I can see why kind of makes sense, because you go, we're going to force you to use it. And if you use it, something's going to stick. Like we're going to throw many things at the wall and something's just going to be useful. But I can only imagine, I can actually see it, how people are starting to get burnt out because of that.
Yes, I think that's definitely an issue there. But I think organizations have a huge responsibility to remember that there's a person behind their success.
Yeah.
And you've got to, the word I'm looking for is invest in your people. Because without them, you really don't actually have a business, right? And with those people, if they are struggling and you do want to force them to use AI, then at least empower them by training them on how to use it. Show them what the benefits could be for their role and for like the general use. Because if people understand what they're using, they're more likely to actually enjoy using it and then be able to learn more in their role. So I think we've got to step back a bit. The technology is already there, right? How do we empower our people to use it in a real, exciting, pleasurable way and get business results at the same time? You know, I think training, learning and development,
Literacy,
training is important. And in most organizations, HR, learning, training is there's a budget there, and it's the first budget to be taken away.
Yes.
Right? I think we've got that wrong.
Yes.
I think as businesses, we need to invest more in our people, invest in that area, because you will then see the sort of the results from that throughout your business, and we need to be spending more there. Anyway.
As a resource and as humans, I think in general, not only at work but particularly at work, it's easier to give a shit when others give a shit.
Yes, that's right.
So if you see that the company is investing in, no, you need to understand why we're doing this. So we're going to teach you all these things, or even we're just going to, something very simple and basic, we're going to create a governance policy, an AI policy that would allow you to use it in this way and not in that way that is harmful for this or for that. I think that's something that I'm just seeing just now some uptake on that, and some people starting to have that conversation, but not enough. And I think it's it's not just on the AI conversation, really. I think it's a global thing and a all-encompassing problem that we have, which is an interesting segue. I'm just thinking about this. An interesting segue onto, what do you think is the mental health state of our sector particularly? Before you answer, I will say what I always say. I'm not a clinician. I'm not a psychologist. I have no academic preparation or anything for this. What I have is lived experience, like you said, of going through burnout, depression due to work, and so on. But it's always like to make that very clear. There's always someone who says, but you're not a psychologist, so how can you talk about it? So what do you think about mental health in our sector particularly?
I think in technology, you're kind of seen as really smart and you know what you're doing, and you know there's this whole sort of vibe of you've got to be really, really good at what you do to be successful, right? And that puts a lot of pressure on humans and individuals. I think there's more investment in our world in terms of well-being and mindfulness and all of that into organizations. But is it actually really, is it a tick box, or is it really being implemented through? I can't see that. I think people talk a good game, and they want to do this, and it's available, and EAP is available or whatever. These things are all available. However, which leaders are leading from the front to actually make sure their people are utilizing what's available for them? Which leaders are emotionally intelligent enough to ask the right questions of their people? Which leaders are strong enough to be vulnerable in front of their people to show that they are also human and there's a reason behind why we're all part of this jigsaw puzzle, right? How we all contribute. And if we could have better conversations and better understanding of our people, and that goes all the way from the top, from board level down, right? Then we're going to have a better community feeling in our organizations. And people will want to reach out, want to be able to use those resources without feeling, oh, it's there, but I've actually got to get this deadline sorted out, or I've got to do this. Especially in sales and technology, it's really full on, right? You've got to hit these numbers, right? When you hit these numbers, that's what success is. And ultimately, if you're doing everything you can and you're still not hitting your numbers, then you're kind of thinking, am I a failure in what I do? And there's so many reasons for why. Maybe it's the election coming up. Maybe it's this happening that's impacting.
Outside of your circle of control.
Yes, impacting businesses and revenue streams. So we as leaders have to be able to have those conversations. And I think it needs to be part of an interview process or that promotion process when you bring a leader on board, right? Because if they can't have those conversations, they're really doing a disservice to their people. And I feel really strongly about that because I've had those leaders and it's not inspiring.
For those leaders out there, how does it look like when you show up from a vulnerability perspective? That emotional intelligence that you talk about, how, if you know, maybe you don't know, but what do you think a good example, what good looks like?
Self-awareness, being honest. One of the things that you can, like showing integrity, is by sharing the company vision in a real way and why everyone's role in that organization impacts up and down, right? Because if you're communicating to an organization and being able to say, you know what, there are some things that we can't talk about, which is fair, right? But ultimately, next year we want to reach X amount of money, $1 million, whatever, and this is how you play into that. And it may be the leader being able to communicate and articulate that to somebody who is in a sort of tier 4 role or in that organization, and actually is sitting there going, well, what's the point of me doing this? And why? The customer comes that way first. They don't go to a board. They come through the front line, right? So that's where we have to inspire, and they're the ones that are dealing with the abuse, the aggression, the bad day the person's had. And then they've got to have their job, do their job really well, have the pressure of everyone else, and then wonder why they're doing it, maybe, you know? And so to keep them inspired and motivated and keep that mental health and the ability to have those breaks, allow people to be human beings. Allow them, don't micromanage unless you really have to, right? Seriously, for any level, don't. These people are working because they want to have a role and they have other things outside of their employment that might be having an impact, you know. So, for example, there's one example I'll give you. When you're younger and you're working hard and you're making money and you're paying off these little things and whatever you're doing, you're accumulating your experience and wealth. As you get older and you start getting promoted and you become one of those leaders that you kind of look up to and go, oh, you know, I want to be like them one day. Those people forget that $10 means the world to those people here. Yeah, they forget because they can spend $1,000 on something and not really care anymore, maybe, right? They forget where they came from, and they've got to remember that they got there, however their journey was, right? They've got there. Don't forget what it's like to be here, and that's a sort of something that people don't really understand. And I just think it's communication. Just talk to your people. Be open. Allow people to have their psychological safety, right? Allow people to say what they need to say. Whether you agree or not, that's irrelevant. Because my role as a leader would be to hear out those individuals. If I have a strong enough relationship, which I'm lucky I do most of the time with all of my people, I can be really honest about why that would work and why it couldn't, right? But I know that I bring my authentic self. because I can see through fakeness. I can see through people, and I don't want my people to see fakeness. I want them to know I expect good results. I expect hard work, but I'm also really fair and caring. And I think women have a bit of a superpower, and that was one of my points in my keynote recently around understanding our value. And these soft skills are not soft skills. They are a superpower for us because that's a natural ability that females do have. And I'm generalizing a little bit here, but the fact is that when we are vulnerable, when we are showing our emotions, we're actually able to get other people to open up more to us and trust us.
Yep.
You know? And if I can say one more thing on that, I think women...
All the things you want.
Okay,
Go
well,
ahead.
I'm really passionate about this one.
Yes.
Women need to support women more, right? There's this big thing that there's not enough females in technology and sales. Now we're at a stage where there are more, right? And those, I've seen people from 18 years ago in my career that have now done really well in their careers, will talk about it, but won't do anything with it, won't bring anybody else on. So I always say to women, one, we can be our own worst enemies sometimes, right? What we need to do is, yes, absolutely, talk about our journeys, share those experiences. But one of my purposes of life is I want to change a minimum of 2 people's life every year, right? A minimum. And I say minimum because I've got to think about all the other things I'm doing, right?
Of course.
So I want to be realistic. If I can do more, great, right? But what I can see the realized benefits of investing in 2 people and changing their lives if they want it, then I'm yours. And that's what I want every woman to do that has made it, that's gone through that hard journey, that's had to fight those struggles and not forget where they came from and change other people's lives. Yeah.
Speechless. I usually go into this journey of what is the role of males in that journey. And I'm not asking the question. And the reason I'm not asking the question is because the last thing you should be doing as a female is to teach men how to behave to support you.
No.
And I get that. I really, like, my brain gets it.
Yes.
But it's so hard to not go there because you go, oh, fuck, what am I supposed to do? I really want to help, but maybe it's just being quiet. And it's not being quiet.
Yeah.
I think it has to do with be supportive, be there. Just the act of presence usually helps more than a gazillion things that you could be doing and doing them wrong.
I think encouragement, like encouraging men to be okay and talking and stepping up because we need men, right? As a mother of 3 boys, I have a responsibility to bring 3 good men into this world.
Absolutely.
So what do I do with that? Do I want them to be disadvantaged? No, they already have an advantage, right? Because in today's world, if they were older, they'd be paid more, etc. Right? That
100%.
whole gap is okay for them. So maybe by the time they're older, it might be the equality might be there, right? But I think from a male perspective, women can't do it on their own, and men can't do whatever they're doing on their own. It needs to be together. Yeah. And unfortunately, and I've seen this in my own experience, my own big eyes, right? That there's a lot of men out there that I've met in my journey that don't want to advocate for anyone else. Yeah, whether it's other men or women, right? And
Assholes be assholes.
absolutely. I think I am a bit of a feminist, but I'm also, I don't know, it's really hard to explain. Like I do believe that we have a lot of work to ensure that women have that equality and equity, right? I work in football. I'm on the board for a football club, and my role there is very much around equality and equity for the female senior football teams, but also from first kicks, from little kids, and having a pathway for them, having the right changing rooms, having the right facilities like lighting so they're safe, having the the same level of sponsorships and also kit. So, making sure that they've got the same equality in having the right home and away kit. You'd think these things were like
things
normal.
that we don't even think about. I play football as well, and
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And it's like, well, why would it be different for a boy and a girl?
Yeah.
But these things do exist. You can't solve the world's problems, but we've got to change the next generation.
My wife and I always talk about, we like sports in general, and Koti and I always talk about a very specific example, tennis.
Okay.
Female tennis players, for as long as I can remember, I think it's changing now, or it has been changing, and apologies for my ignorance, I don't know that much about it. In the clothes, the kits, they don't have pockets.
Oh,
I know.
right.
What does that mean, though? It means that you see Rafael Nadal, for example, he plays and he does all his tricks and all the things that he does, and he puts the tennis balls in his pocket.
Yes.
And he can do all those things with his hands, right? You look at Serena Williams, for example, and she almost got disqualified because she was wearing a full it was like a suit. I don't even know how to name it. That didn't have pockets either. So when they have to put the tennis balls somewhere, they usually put them inside their little shorts. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, there's a pocket thing there, but it's not.
It's not a pocket.
It's not a pocket.
It's
oh my
not
goodness.
a proper pocket. I think just now is becoming that, or maybe
Okay.
there was, and now for I would assume male reasons, stop being a thing, and now maybe it's starting again. But the point remains: there are so many sports and so many things that are not as blatant about that bullshit that when you see it like that, you go, oh. And we play tennis. We at a very, very low level, and she always complains, my wife, and she goes, "Pun not intended. Where do I put balls?" She's like, "What do I do with this?" And she has to put them inside the little short.
Yeah, but so I've been reading a book, and this book has been talking about the whole way things have been designed and the data used to design these things. So, for example, women are more likely to die in a car crash because of the seatbelt, right? Because the seatbelt was designed for a man.
Okay. Whoa.
There's lots of really good statistics in there, but those things kind of stick out, and you go, "Oh my God, that makes sense."
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then also toilet flushes. I mean, they didn't think about nails, did they? Right?
True.
Everything
Sure.
seems to be designed
Or
with a male.
men who want to have long nails, for that matter,
Exactly.
or trans people. Yeah, no, 100%,
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah,
but
yeah.
just those little things where you
Yep.
think, they've been designed, which is why we need diversity
Mm.
in every aspect of life, right? We need diversity for that different way of thinking. The idea that you're going to create becomes, a seatbelt that just saves the weight for a man, but a woman would just completely get crushed. I don't know, right? There's something not
Right.
right there. So
Right.
what do you do?
What's
Have
the
a-
name of the book? Sorry.
Oh, I can't remember off the top of my head. That's my
That's
brain
fine.
thing.
It's just so I can put it in
I
the
will- I will-
description and people can look
Yes,
it up.
I
Yeah.
will come back to you on that one. Okay. But it's such a good book because it shows you so many things we just don't think about. And I think that's the lesson in business as well. If we want equality and equity more so, then we need to be looking at, the user experience for different types of people. And the input to that is those diverse opinions and thoughts. And also, it's great to have challenging conversations. I think that's so healthy. I think Kiwis are a little bit more reserved, from my opinion, that is. But, coming from England and being Indian as well, my goodness me, we have this other side of us where we're quite sort of very assertive in terms of our negotiating skills.
Right.
So I think you kind of need to have different views to make things happen. And I think we're forgetting that again in business still.
We talked about mental health. You gave us a bit of a view on what you think is at the moment, particularly in our sector. There's no question in my mind that there's a massive, massive problem globally about this. You can see it on the rate of suicide.
Yes.
every 40 seconds, a person decides to commit suicide, and that's just not on.
No.
And it's statistics that is going to be really hard to change. We talked about how that affects workplaces. Just so we also talk about not positive things, but things that people can take away from listening to this. What are the things that in those dark times that unfortunately we didn't have time to explore too much, to give context to the question as well? What are the things that you did that got you, I don't want to say out of it, because I hate it when people say, how did you get out of? You never get out of, you just sideline it.
Yeah.
What did you find that worked? What are the things, like actual activities, actual things that you found that helped?
Okay, so I think I'm going to go back to when I was really young, probably about 16. And I know we're going to talk about positives, but I'm just going to quickly go back to a bit of a dark place quickly.
Takeaways, not positives. Takeaways is what I want people to have. Yeah.
Okay. Look, so when I was 16, I decided I didn't want to be here anymore. Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm still here. But I thought that was the right thing to do because of so many things that happened. And I just realized I couldn't do that, not because I didn't want to. I couldn't do that because I had responsibilities of other people in my life. And I sat there and it would have been so much easier for me to go. It would have been so much easier. But I realized I had to stay. So it took me all day and I didn't. I stayed. And because it was so hard for me to stay alive, I owed it to myself to really make sure that I try not to go there again, right? And so having that sort of big experience of I'm still here, if everything that happens now from that moment, I've got to get through, right? Because I can't go any worse than here. That's what I thought at the time, And so I guess for me is just having that point where you acknowledge you feel sad or you acknowledge you feel something is not right and it's not okay, just finding that, get help. And when I say get help, go to your GP. If it doesn't work, go to your counselor, go to EAP, go to friends, ask for help. Now, on the flip side of that is when someone asks you for help, please don't say, oh, okay, what can I do for you? And then not turn up again. I think you just, as that other side, be that person that's always there whether they like it or not. Keep checking in. Keep asking them they're okay. Don't disappear because that's what brings an individual down. So talking about it, checking in both ways. And I think sometimes realizing that you can't change everything. So I think my story, like I said earlier on, I think ultimately from all of this is about showing people hope. Because every time I could have given up, I didn't. And actually, if I reflect now back at my life, I've had lots of great times. I've done so much in my life. I'm here today and I can do all these amazing things. To be fair, I feel like I can do anything in the world, right? But I can only do that because I'm still here today. And if I'm not here, if I died all those years ago, or if I decided that was the right path, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be able to help other people on that journey. And there's so many little Sitas, boys and girls, so many little Sitas out there. And if, I can say to you, I often talk back to myself as a young girl and say to myself when I look at a little Sita and I go, it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay because I know what you're about to go through, but you're going to be okay. And that's something that I keep reminding myself because that girl, she deserves something good. Yeah.
That's beautiful and that's very powerful. Thank you. Thank you. How do you finish this conversation? I could talk for another 24 hours. Do you have something to eat? We can stay here to a couple of days. Okay, so a couple of things. Another thing that I usually ask, and you have answered in so many ways that I'm just going to ask it anyways.
Okay.
If you could whisper in the ears of everybody that works in the tech industry particularly, or else, but our industry, on Monday before they start their work day, and you could say something to them, what would that be?
I think I'd say surround yourself with good people because it's going to be okay. I think that'd be one message. And then to another audience, I would say don't ever underestimate the power of believing in someone because you don't know you can change their life. That's the two messages I'd say, depending on who it is.
Thank you. Again, very powerful. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
I always say this in public and in private as well. It took one person to believe in me so many years ago, not that many years ago, for myself to believe that I could do certain things. It took someone to come and say, look, this is going to cause a lot of pain now, but it's going to bring so much growth and joy to your life. It's just, believe me. Usually when I ask that question, people really feel the need to be empathetic about it and to say the things that someone who's starting their day would want to hear because it's probably going to be just another tough day. What people have never said, actually, you're the first one who talks to the other audience, to the ones who are causing the pain, to the ones who are inflicting these things onto other people, who have the power to at some point say, it's going to be okay. I believe in you. We're in this together or not, but I'm here.
Yes.
So thank you for saying that as well. It was beautiful having you. I love you. Thank you so, so, so very much for being this awesome you.
Thank you, Diego, and I love you too.
Is there anything else you would like to say to all the people
Yes.
on the other side?
I would, because I keep saying this and, and I mean it. And when I say something, I want to deliver on that. So
Sure.
I am on LinkedIn, right? If you want to, no, I'm not selling myself. I'm saying more so I am available. If people want to talk, I can't save the world, but guess what? I can find someone to help. And that's what I want to do. So
Thank you.
out.
Thank you. Thank you again for being here with me today. We got to do it again because there's so many more things that we should be talking about.
Good. Thank you, Diego.
Thank you. All right. Just believe in yourself. It's going to be okay. I promise you. This is starting to be a thing. I never used to finish with a couple of words. Guy, apparently I'm doing it now. It feels like it's getting tougher out there. I talk to people pretty much on a daily basis. I've run into some of you in conferences and stuff like that. And you tell me about how you are feeling burnt out, how you're feeling stressed, how you're feeling hesitant about the world that we live in terms of how everything seems to be changing, and we need to learn how to be electricians and plumbers because that's what's going to save the world. Just hang in there. Call me. Just like Sita said, I'm on the other side of a phone, a text, whatever it is. Genuinely want to help as much as we can, even if it is just sitting down and looking at the ocean for a while so you don't feel alone. You're not alone. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.